Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Daily Dose. Today is Friday, October 14th, and we saw the market kind of come back to earth after rallying so hard. After that CPI data came out, I think that this is kind of more what people were expecting if the data came in hotter than expected. And that's what we saw today. So the S&P 500 was down 2.37%. The Dow Jones was down 1.34%, and the NASDAQ was down just over 3%. So if we come to the year-to-date now, the NASDAQ is down 34%, the S&P 500 is down about 25%, and the Dow is down 18.45%. I think a lot of what happened, and this article mentions it as well, was probably short covering yesterday. Maybe a little bit of panic. I can't seem to find it in this article, but that is right here. So what happened was extraordinary and may have been exasperated by short covering, perhaps even some panic. And that's senior market analyst Craig Erlam from Oanda. And this is kind of the response now that we're seeing. And when we take a look at the chart, it'll actually make sense why it bounced off the level it did, why it went up to the level it did. Technically speaking, it does make sense. So let's go ahead and just get into that. So you'll see here on the chart that we actually did come back to the top of this zone, which had been a pretty key support for a while, and now it's become a resistance. So that's around the 3,700, and it bounced off and actually went all the way through the bottom here. And now we're sitting right where we were a couple Fridays ago, actually, at 3,583. We did see a rebound from this last time. I wouldn't be so sure that that'll happen again. If it does, that's great. Good for everybody in the markets. But if it doesn't, like I said, I do expect at some point for this zone to get touched, and that's between 32.95 and 32.15. Really, the 32.50 is going to be the exact level that I'm looking at, as well as this channel line coming down as well. That's what I'll be looking for on the S&P 500. As far as Bitcoin goes, actually really interesting things happening on Bitcoin. So we got the wick over the trend line here. So the trend line right now kind of goes through like 19,300 to 19,100. That's kind of like where the chart is at as far as like touching the trend line. And we got as high as 19,800 and then came all the way back down. So we're still sitting on the top of this zone, but the trend line is now putting extreme pressure on this, and something's going to have to break eventually, either this trend line or this zone here, and it's going to have to happen soon. I wouldn't be surprised, actually, because the markets are closed, if Bitcoin stays somewhat flat and maybe stays on the top of this zone, so like even into Sunday right here, and then if the markets tank on Monday, we could see this then come down through. So I wouldn't take into account really too much if we do actually exist outside this trend line over the weekend, because I think that it could come back through in the Monday session of trading on the stock market. And that's what I'm looking at on the Bitcoin chart right now. But that's really all I had for today. Again, I do apologize if this is a little bit shorter. I'm all over the place right now. I had a wedding rehearsal this morning. I'm about to go to the dinner tonight. The wedding is tomorrow, so my time is a little bit crammed right now, but I did want to keep getting episodes out every single day. So we'll have an episode of the weekly wrap this weekend, and we'll also have a special episode on an unrelated topic. So stay tuned for that as well this weekend. I do appreciate you watching or listening to this episode today, and until next time, thank you for listening.